Our 6.6, 9:45 a.m. item, AB 481, Lake County Sheriff's Annual Military Equipment Report. And we've got Sheriff Howe and Lieutenant Bingham. Come on up.
Good morning, Chair Pyska and Board. Lake County Sheriff Rob Howe. So we're doing our Lake County Sheriff's Annual Military Equipment Report. This is a function in our department that Lieutenant Bingham's handled for a couple of years, so I'll be passing it on to him to give you the report.
Good morning, Board. As you can recall, those that were on the board last year, we brought the military equipment report to you and had the ordinance signed last year, Ordinance 3123. And under California Government Code 770, it requires that we do an annual report and bring the military equipment annual report back to the board for renewal of the ordinance under 7071E1 of the California Government Code. So just going to do a brief overview of the ordinance. So the ordinance requires that we have a public meeting with the community, which we had on July 6th of this year. We presented the annual military equipment report at that meeting. We've also had the report posted on the Sheriff's Office website for over 30 days now, available to the community. It covers basically the possession, use, training, fiscal impact, and any future purchases of equipment identified as military equipment by the Sheriff's Office. During this fiscal year, our fiscal impact to the Sheriff's Office budget was approximately $20,140. That's the ordinance, and then this is our breakdown of our fiscal impact for each piece of military equipment or equipment that is identified as military equipment by the state of California. A lot of these, as you can see, are in approximates. Some of these are difficult to come to an exact number down to the penny simply because the many moving parts that are required for tracking. You can see with the iRobot 510 there, a lot of that is training and maintenance. So to identify training, to identify which deputy trained on this, what pay scale they're at, a deputy 1, a deputy 2, a sergeant, then their ad pays, and so on and so forth, to come to an exact dollar amount would require an exorbitant amount of staff time. So a lot of that, when there's approximates, that is including trainings that are involved in there as far as deputy wages, either straight time or overtime wages for that. And again, the overall fiscal impact of the Sheriff's Office budgets was $20,140 for maintenance, training, and then the deployment and use of that military equipment. When we go to the page 2 here, you can see some of that. When we're talking about the use, we have the CTS 45 impact projectile. That's a 12 gauge, less than lethal round. We have 36 rounds of those that were used, and that was used for training. We had no deployments during the last year of those rounds for any type of uses of force or deployments during use of force incidents. That's also where you can see on the fiscal impact, a lot of the rounds, the CTS, OC, and CS chemical munitions, we had 0 deployments last year. During the last fiscal year, we did obtain one additional piece of military equipment. That was an additional iRobot 510, which we obtained from the Hayward Police Department as a replacement for our previous 510, which was damaged and unrepairable. We brought that to the board and got the board approval before obtaining that robot from the Hayward Police Department. During this fiscal year, we've had no complaints from the community, no concerns, and we have identified no policy violations with the use of the military equipment. For your guys' knowledge, just so you know, we have 57 categories of military equipment, which are listed in the annual report and that were part of the presentation that we brought to you. The one thing that we did add to our military equipment list this year are the rifles that are carried by our patrol deputies. Under the government code, they are listed as a standard issue piece of equipment and not at this time required to be added to the military equipment list. However, we know there's legislation in the state of California to make them part of the military equipment list. So out of an interest of transparency with the board and our community, we went ahead and added them to our military equipment list this year, knowing that that is probably what the state of California is going to do in their legislation. So we just added them to the list this year. And that pretty much wraps up my presentation on the equipment list and the fiscal impact. And I'm obviously open to any questions that the board may have as to the type of equipment and the usage of it.
So last year, the report was a lot longer. I think it was the first time.
Yes, it was the first time, and it was an actual presentation of each piece of equipment and why we have it and what we use it for. And in the interest of the board's time,
Sure.
we do have that PowerPoint presentation, which is part of our website and is available to the community or the board if you'd like to see it again.
I think I'm okay with it. But there was, I think last year we talked a lot about expired ammunition. Was there?
Yes, there were
And
some
so they had to be
expired.
disposed of?
Yes. We also have expired munitions listed on this. It would be difficult to go through all 57 pages and find them, but we still track expired munitions, and we keep them and we retain them, even though we cannot use them for real-world deployments, if you want to use that term. We do retain them because of the cost for them for training purposes. For example, some of the CTS, OC, and CS munitions that we have, they can range anywhere from $36 to $85, depending on the type of munition. So once they become expired, they have an approximate shelf life of about 5 years. We retain them and use them internally for training, so we're lessening that fiscal impact to the sheriff's office.
Okay. Supervisor Sabatier?
Thank you for the report. Quick question for you. Drones, does that fall under military equipment?
That is a question that I don't, as I sit in front of you, have that answer to. I believe the answer is yes, but I don't want to be 100% without reviewing the government code again. It's rather lengthy, but I believe they do, yes.
And I just came up with the question because I see Director Turner is here and her staff has come to us talking about that. I'm wondering if it's in a different department, does it still have to be identified by your department as a military equipment, or does it separate itself?
It separates itself. It
Okay.
would be incumbent upon them to have that listed in their department.
Okay.
But I can check into that and work with CDD and provide that information to them. Again, I'm not 100% sure that drones fall underneath that. I believe they do, but I'd have to do some research on that.
Thank you.
Supervisor Green?
Yeah, thank you for the report. Just a process question. So the staff report mentioned the report and then some renewal of the original ordinance and stuff like that. So I didn't see a resolution for a renewal. I didn't see anything in the original ordinance regarding renewal. So I think the report's is fine as far as it goes, but if there's any findings or extension or renewal of the ordinance, I didn't see that in a recommended action, so.
Yes, the government code, like I said, 7071 E1 does require the Board of Supervisors to annually review the military equipment annual report by the Sheriff's Office and then vote to renew the ordinance.
And looking at county council, then, can we just up and vote to renew an ordinance without having it presented? Would it come in the form of a resolution, or how would that work?
Under the language of the cited government code section, it would be by vote. So as far as the renewal of the ordinance, so as Lieutenant Bingham has stated, under sub E of 7071, governing body shall review any ordinance it has adopted pursuant to this section, approving the funding, acquisition, or use of military equipment at least annually, and subject to paragraph 2, the one below it, vote on whether to renew the ordinance at a regular meeting held pursuant to the Brown Act.
So again, do we need a resolution? And I didn't see the vote to extend as a recommended action on the staff report.
Sorry, what was the question again, Supervisor Green? Sorry.
I acknowledge what you read in the government code. I just don't have before us today either a resolution that would give us a roll call vote to extend this ordinance, and I don't know for a fact that we can just take a vote on the fly without a recommended action or a piece of paper to hang that vote on. I mean, if you say we can, we can. I just don't know that.
And it will be reflected also as in the board minutes as well. The vote would.
Okay. Any comments from the public? Do we have anyone in the Zoom room?
Hold on. We're in the share screen still. No hands on Zoom.
Okay, then I'll bring it back to the board for action. Yes. Approve,
Do we approve the,
it says,
to renew the ordinance and as provided? Because the original ordinance is there, we're not changing the ordinance, we're just saying we're renewing it. Is that good enough of a motion?
Yes, and if your board wishes, there would be two, and just to streamline things, just two separate motions. The first one would be the one stated on the memo, move to approve AB 481/Lake County Sheriff's Annual Military Equipment Report. Then the second motion would be to, motion to approve the renewal of ordinance number 3123.
3123, okay. I move to approve the report as presented today.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
And I move to renew ordinance 3123 as presented.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Can I just